All right, Texans get the win. The Texans beat the Jags. They head into the bye week with a dub. It is SNL Reaction Monday. Landry Locker, Cody Stutes with you. We are on Cody's channel. We'll be on my channel tomorrow. We're going to be rotating back and forth. Little home and home stuff for you, but we are all one community, so we appreciate you for coming through. Subscribe on all audio podcast formats. Type in Locker, Stutes, Texans, StreamYard, all the way to Apple. And we got you covered. Let's react to this dub immediately, Cody. I know that there's perhaps a notion to kind of style point wins, and I understand as much as anyone. But I said heading into this one, you just got to get this dub and then adjust accordingly, figure out what you got to do. There were some things that stuck out, but just your overall thoughts on the way this went down in Jacksonville and the way the Texans were able to survive and get the dub.
The most important thing was to win and to avoid what would have been one of the worst bye weeks ever for this Texans organization. Like, it would have just been a horrifically chaotic, ugly bye week with literally no ability to rest or reset for the final four games if they lose this game. Think about who they would have lost to heading into the bye week. 2-2-win teams that play in the bottom and the dregs of the AFC South. Like, that's who you would have lost to if you'd lost this game. So the biggest thing you had to do was win this football game, and they accomplished that. They had enough good things in this to get the win. It got unnecessarily close, but what Texans game doesn't get unnecessarily close these days? They had to get this win. They got the win. And the thing that really jumped off the page for me with this team is when Stroud plays good and Nico Collins plays good and Joe Mixon plays good, I feel like they got a fighting chance offensively against anybody that they're going to play. Now, obviously, you need some other elements of the team to play really well to beat better teams than the Jacksonville Jaguars, but they got a shot any given day with Stroud, Mixon, Nico playing really well, which they played well yesterday. They built up a nice lead there in the second half. Defense kind of gave the lead away there, but they took care of their business, got the victory, which was much needed because it would have just been a horrific week for the bye week if they had lost this game. So they had to avoid a loss at all costs, and they certainly did that.
I think my question is, you thought CJ played really good? You thought he played good yesterday?
One of his better games of the season.
I thought he was okay. I didn't think he was great. I thought he was okay. But I mean, I think that kind of adds to your point with the Mixons and Nico. I thought he was all right. I thought that, I mean, the Jacksonville was outmanned, and I think that's good to see, because as much as, you know, there's a tendency to minimize wins, especially when they're ugly, especially when they're against bad teams. I think that this team is not, it's not as bad as we thought it would be. Like, they didn't go lose to Jacksonville, because the sky would be falling if that happened. I also do think that if we're looking at this from like a positive and like what could be the best case scenario for the Texans, I think that the bye week is very, very needed. I think the bye week comes at the right time. And I think if there's any hope, I think this is something that was very, very needed with the Texans, the bye week, because this has just been a pretty strenuous schedule that the Texans have endured.
Yeah, I mean, it finally shows up. I mean, would they have been better served and better off if this was 2-3 weeks ago? Certainly. I don't know that this is the right way to operate bye weeks. There were some weeks where the NFL had only 2 teams on a bye. Like, there should be like a set time frame when bye weeks should occur. It shouldn't occur this late in the season for a team. Like, you shouldn't have 4 games left after your bye week. That's too late in the season, but it shows up for them at a much needed time. They're going to have a chance to get some guys right. They're going to have a chance from a coaching staff standpoint to dive in, try to pull some of those good things that happened from the offense yesterday out. How can they replicate those? How can they bring those forward into that 4-game stretch where they kind of sprint here to the end after the bye week?
Yeah, I think the bye weeks, I think they just make the schedule and then do the bye weeks after. I don't think there's like really any thought. They don't do the bye weeks and then work around them. It seems like they just kind of do the schedule and then figure that out. I am intrigued, like, because you said, you know, it was one of CJ Stroud's better games of the season. I just didn't really feel that this was one of his best games of the season. I thought that the throw to Dell was, I think it was late. I think it had a little bit too much air on it. I think that could have completely changed the game. But then I think about it, and I think this is just kind of perspective. And depending on how you look at this, you can look at this as hopeful, or you can look at this in a different way. I'm trying to think about his best games, and we really don't have like a pure example. Like at this point last year, we were pointing to, maybe Pittsburgh, maybe Jacksonville, maybe Cincinnati, maybe Tampa Bay. Like we had games to point to where CJ Stroud was just cooking, and I'm still holding, and I have no problem doing it. I don't think it needs to be adjusted. Like maybe even the whole mindset of the team needs to be adjusted from what it was at the start of the season. But I'm still evaluating CJ Stroud, even though he hasn't proven himself to be that on a consistent level. I'm still evaluating CJ Stroud as if he's an elite quarterback and has a different standard. But I do think, like, as you talk about it, I don't think you're necessarily wrong. But I still think that based on his ability and based on what he can do, he still could have played a hell of a lot better yesterday than what he did.
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't some amazing performance. I mean, he held onto the ball too long and took a couple of sacks that were totally unnecessary, where he should have got rid of the football. He ran on third down when he had no chance to get a touchdown when it was 3rd and goal. Like that wasn't good. But he didn't throw a bunch of interceptable balls. He didn't look like he was inaccurate and off target like he has looked at different times this year. There were a couple of moments where I was like, "Ooh, that's 2023 CJ Stroud," where he kind of rolled out, avoided some of the pressure, was able to get the ball to DeMeco Collins. Like it wasn't an amazing performance, but it was one of the better games within himself, played controlled football. And then once they got the rushing attack going there in the second half, it leaned on Joe Mixon, had a lot of really good decisions with the football on first down, getting the ball to DeMeco Collins. Like it was one of his better games. Like he's had a rough season compared to what we expect out of him and comparing it to last year.
What do we make of the Tank Dell thing? Because I just kind of want to jump right into this, and we'll do grades. I got landlocked grades, but I think the Tank Dell situation is interesting, and there's perhaps a lot of factors to it, but a 1-catch game, again, easily could have had a touchdown if CJ had seen him sooner or put a little less air on it. Some would say that probably could have been pass interference. I get that. I think it would have been kind of rewarding a bad throw. But if you look at what Tank Dell has done this season, and again, this is not there's no, I'm not saying what the reason is. I'm just saying the overall production of Tank Dell. This is a 1-catch game. He's had now 2 1-catch games, one where he had -3 yards against Chicago. He's had a game where he went catchless. He's had a 39-yard game, a 35-yard game, a 23-yard game, a 38-yard game, the -3, and a 40-yard game. He's played every game this season, Tank Dell. And he is right now, Tank Dell is he has 543 yards and 43 catches. Again, we can try to describe the what, but the bottom line is that this is not a good look for Tank Dell, and it's not what we would expect from Tank Dell. And
No,
again, he's missed 1 game.
Yeah, the production has not been there. He's not as good as he was last year. He's not separating. The NFL's adjusted to him. They haven't got him the ball in creative ways, and he hasn't been able to get open enough for them to get him the ball. So it's been a down season from him. There were certainly higher expectations. He was much better last year, and some of it was probably he was a rookie and people didn't have a lot on him or didn't have the game plan for him. But teams have gotten physical with him. He hasn't been able to handle it this year, get away from it like he did last year, and the Texans haven't schemed it up to get him the ball out there in open territory either.
Yeah, 43 catches in 12 games. He missed the one ball game. That's just kind of crazy. And if you would have told me before the season that Tank Dell, that Stephon Diggs is going to get hurt, Nico Collins is going to miss 5 games, and Tank Dell's only going to miss 1 game through 12, I would have said, damn, he's gonna light it up. Like Tank Dell is going to be the go-to guy. It hasn't happened. And I do think that, as we talk about the wide receivers and we talk about the offense, I think there's logical skepticism that these guys are getting open, the wide receivers. And that's going to have to be something that they're going to have to figure out. I think there needs to be and we don't have to get too big picture. We got a whole bye week ahead of us. We'll get into the game itself. We'll get into the Azeez Al-Shaair. We'll have the grades as well as your comments, most importantly. But the Tank Dell production is just it's really, or lack thereof, is just really fascinating, and it's something that I don't want to say they depend on it, because I think they have a three-headed monster on offense, and it's just Nico and everyone else. But you're gonna need more from Tank Dell, regardless of what it is. There's got to be more than that.
I mean, through 47 catches last year, he had 709 yards and 7 touchdowns. 43 catches this year, he's got 543 and 2 touchdowns. Like, it's drastically different. You know, the catches, he's going to catch up to the total, but it doesn't look as good. It's not as explosive. There's a lot of short yardage stuff. There's some like seemingly not in the right spot stuff from time to time with him and CJ. And I thought that was a combination and a relationship that was going to be, you know, really close and really tight, and showcase that on the football field. But it hasn't clicked and hasn't been anywhere near as good as last year. And that's a big dip from a guy that the Texans put a lot of hope and expectation on.
Then you had Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz with his largest target share. He has largest target share of the season. I think he had 7 targets. He had tied for the most receptions with 5. He had his first touchdown, and he had his second highest amount of yards at 61. I think 66 was the previous high. So we got to see a little bit more Dalton Schultz. Now, I will say this about my boy. I know the hurdle has become more common around football, and I know there's a lot of guys that are capable of doing such a thing. We might need to leave that business, Dalton. We might need to stay out of the hurdle business, because unless you just don't want to play football anymore, I think that would be in the best interest not to do it. But we did get the best version of Dalton Schultz yesterday, which, if you're looking for someone not Nico Collins, that's a very, very welcome thing. Dalton Schultz getting it going a little bit. Maybe this is something that he can build on, because they need that other element. But I thought Dalton Schultz had a pretty good game yesterday.
Here's what I liked about Schultz getting involved is this wasn't, hey, they're down 10 points late, and he's getting some empty yards on a drive that, doesn't win him the football game, or the game's out of hand. He caught passes when the game was close, helped them move the sticks, and 4 of his 5 catches were either a touchdown or first downs. And so he was a key element to this offense, and it wasn't just empty yards or afterthought yards. Like, they were important yards. CJ Stroud hit him on that 4th down when they went for it on 4th and 2. I mean, and that was 1-2 rocket. That's what we've been asking for. Take a step, fire it in there, get the ball out, get it to a guy that's open. Schultz was there, sure-handed. He got the first down. It was a much more involved performance from Dalton Schultz, and I'm with you. Let's leave the hurdle in the past.
Now, and then we're staying on the offense right now. We'll get to the defense. We're working our way there. It is SNL Reaction Monday. Landry Locker, Cody Stutes with you on his channel. We're going to be rotating throughout, so we appreciate everyone for rolling through. On the Super, I don't know what's going on with my man, Kingdom Bear. I can barely even read that. Goodness gracious. He says, I see hope. The offense had good moments. The passes to Schultz look good. And as always, Mixon and Collins were excellent. Saludos from Mexico.
Villa Hermosa, Mexico.
Okay. I see you, brother. Appreciate
the super chat, sir.
Yeah, the offense was shout out to the Mexican followers out there. Shout out to the people in England. What time is it in England? Who knows? But the Mixon factor is just insane. And I don't know how he enjoys bye weeks. I don't care. Whatever Joe Mixon needs to do, he needs to just enjoy it. And I really, I'll get into the game, I promise, but I really want to get to the point where they wrap up this division to where they can ice up Joe Mixon. We saw him banged up yesterday. Quite frankly, to be quite frank, they don't win this game without Joe Mixon yesterday. Like, they don't. There's no path to winning this game without Joe Mixon yesterday. I can't say that. You probably say that about Nico Collins too, but maybe they figure out ways to get creative and replace that. Maybe doubtful based on previous dialogue, But there's a 0% chance that they win this game without Joe Mixon yesterday, and he would not let them lose. And quite frankly, when they scored that touchdown in the second half, the Joe Mixon one, I didn't look at that as schematic. I just looked at that as I'm not going to let us lose. The Schultz one was nice, and there was a Collins reception before the Mixon, but Joe Mixon did not let this team lose, and I really want to be able to get Joe Mixon healthy and ready for the playoffs sooner rather than later, and at least be able to load manage him. I don't want him playing all 3 games in 10 days. I really, really don't. So if you can wrap up the division before then on Christmas, Joe Mixon, put the sweats on, enjoy your time with your family, and then just come sit on the sidelines and watch the Texans play the Ravens. I'm already icing up Joe Mixon.
You'll get one chance to have the division locked up, not have to worry about it at all before you get into the 2 games in a short amount of time. If the Texans beat the Dolphins and the Colts lose their first game out of the bye week, then the Texans will have won the AFC South, and you can take it easy with Joe Mixon down the stretch with those final 3 games.
Come on, I must paneling. What are we icing up for? A Super Bowl? We're icing up to have the best team possible in the playoffs. Goodness gracious. That's what we're icing up for.
Look, Landry talked about icing up after you clinch the AFC South. Well, when you win the AFC South, you host a home playoff game. You're icing Joe Mixon up to make sure that you don't get embarrassed at home in the first round of the playoffs. That's what you're icing him up for. You're going to have a damn good football team, maybe the Ravens, maybe the Chargers.
She's just frustrated that the division's not wrapped up. I feel it.
I mean, it should be wrapped up.
Dom in Jersey, while I agree it wasn't the cleanest hit, I'm really disappointed at local media reactions to it. No need to say names, McLean, Hughley.
We'll get to Aziz.
We'll get to Aziz Al-Shaair. I don't know what the local media reactions have been to the Aziz Al-Shaair. I thought, you want to just get to it right now? I mean, it's the biggest story. Do you want? Let's keep. We can keep the offense, but this was Aziz Al-Shaair's statement via Instagram. Whenever you have a long note like this, typically it's not like the best thing didn't happen. I don't think I see too many like Apple notes, but this is Aziz Al-Shaair, his statement after the hit yesterday. I've always played the game as hard as I could, never with the intent to harm anyone, and anybody that knows me knows that. My goal is to hit as hard as I can. Then I pray you're still able to get up and play the next play. And when the game is over, go home to your family unharmed, because it's not personal. It's just competition. We both are trying to do the same thing, which is provide for our families. I genuinely didn't see him sliding until it was too late, and it all happens in the blink of an eye. To Trevor, I genuinely apologize to you for what ended up happening. Before the game, we spoke, and I told you it was great to see you back on the field and wished you well. I would never want to see any player hurt because of a hit I put on them, especially one that's deemed, quote, late or, quote, unnecessary. To the rest of his teammates, I can definitely understand you having his back and defending him in a situation like that. To the rest of the people who I've been called every single name in the book, from reporters with their hands ready. Where are we at here? You just moved the hell out of that. Oh, to the rest of my teammates, I can definitely understand you. But to the rest of the people, I've been called every single name. Reporters with their hands ready for a story to find their villain, to racist and Islamophobic fans and people. You don't know my heart, know my character, which I don't need to prove to any of you. God knows my intentions, and anyone who has ever been a teammate or friend of mine knows my heart. Okay. My eyes hurt from all of that movement on that. But
well, did you want to finish reading the statement or not?
No, I did. I was just kind of like, okay. Look, I think that first of all, it was a dirty hit. Like, I don't have any problem saying it's a dirty hit. Does that mean that he maybe didn't see him sliding till late? Maybe, perhaps. I don't know what the intent was. Like, I can't judge what intent is. I do know that we've seen Aziz Al-Shaair earlier this year punch someone on the sidelines in Roschon Johnson. So I think naturally as a linebacker, you get kind of wired up, because let's be honest, to be able to survive, to be able to play, you have 300 pounders trying to take your head off. and then you're trying to tackle world-class athletes of all different sizes and forms, it's a dangerous game. So the mindset you have as soon as the ball is snapped is such to where it's a lot to ask. It's part of the gig, but it's a lot to ask someone to get that wired up. And then at the same time, have the judgment to be able to know when to let up or not. But with that said, it was a dirty hit. Like, and I'm not going to sit here and try to judge until I think it was a dirty hit. I thought Moose Johnston was really dramatic about it. I mean, my God, like I was waiting for like him to have a trial at halftime or something, Aaron Hernandez or OJ Simpson style, with the way Daryl Johnston was acting about it. It was a dirty football play, and then he should have gotten off the field and not let it escalate. No matter, he knows the deal there, so he didn't help that. I thought the slide was fine too. I really didn't think it was like the worst slide, but it was a dirty play. Maybe the intent wasn't what it was, but yeah, it was a bad play.
The way I viewed it was he started to break down and get low for a larger quarterback. And then once Lawrence started to slide, and I've watched it, 100 times here, it feels like he didn't have to lead with the forearm and the whole business that he did give Lawrence. It feels like he was going to make contact with him no matter what. Yeah. Just the way he made contact, it didn't feel like he needed to lead with the braced up forearm that started in the upper chest area and finished on Lawrence's head. So that's where I would be on that, is that it feels like, I feel like he was going to make contact with him no matter what. So there was going to be a 15-yard flag no matter what coming out of that situation. Did he have to throw the elbow in there? No, it doesn't look like he had to do that either. So it's an unfortunate hit. It's contact.
He's going to be suspended at least a game.
I would think he probably gets suspended at least a game. As soon as I saw it, I felt like he was getting ejected. No questions. And I knew Mac Jones was playing the rest of the game too. And Moose Johnston acted like it was the last Boy Scout. He might as well have accused Azeez Al-Shaair of having a gun, like the last Boy Scout.
I mean, I thought he was going to cry. I thought Moose was going to need a moment.
The respect you have for another football player. And McClain calling it the dirtiest hit he's ever seen. I thought John watched football for 48 years.
Didn't he watch the Steelers and Oilers?
You think Dr. Doom ever probably who John McClain helped get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
He did not say the dirtiest hit he's ever seen.
He said it. He said it. Let me go find the tweet.
Dirtiest hit he's ever seen. No, I mean it was
the dirtiest hit I've ever seen.
No, it was a bad hit. I mean, let's just be honest. Like if CJ got hit like that, people would be upset. It's hard, man. Like it's very difficult to get in that mindset and then get out of that mindset and recognize. I mean, I just look. I go back to Chicago. You punch someone on the sidelines. I mean, like it's not, like it's two things. Like he punched Roschon Johnson on the sidelines, and then said something like, "I'm never going to walk away." I think in that situation, you got to walk away. I do think that Azeez let the situation escalate a little bit too much. At that point, you just charge it to the game and roll out. And I know that's easy. That's easy for me to say. I'm not the one getting cussed at by fans and, players questioning me and going, I mean, he said he understood that, but it's easy for me to sit here and say, be the bigger guy and just get the hell off the field at that point. But I just think that's probably the look. And I think it's kind of telling that Will Anderson, the younger guy, is helping walk him off the field. I thought that was an interesting look. But
I went back and broke down who was ready to scrap and who was ready to play peacemaker.
Oh, I got to hear this. This you won't get this anywhere else. Let's go.
Okay, so Azeez Al-Shaair.
Were any of the offensive linemen ready to scrap?
Well, because it was over on the Jacksonville side. So
okay.
There was only one player that I could identify.
I didn't even notice that it happened. All right, keep going.
There was only one player that I could identify that came across the field to get in there, and the name won't surprise you when I get there.
Oh, God,
So
can't wait for this.
Azeez Al-Shaair crushes Trevor Lawrence.
Okay.
Evan Ingram immediately is shoving
Yeah.
him.
Good for him, by the way. Like that was. I mean, that's a good teammate right there.
Right. Evan Ingram was immediately shoving him, and then it's pushing and shoving match. Okay, ready to get right in the middle of it. Kurt Hinish immediately.
Yeah.
Kurt Hinish immediately was in the middle of it. He was on the defensive play, and he was right there in the middle. He has the crazy face paint like Latimer almost from the program. So Kurt Hinish right in the middle of it. Jimmy Ward got in there pretty quick.
Yeah, he's about it.
He was close to it.
Jimmy's about it.
Henry To'o came flying in.
He's ready. He also hurt Jimmy yesterday.
Yeah.
Hey, that's karma. That's karma, Jimmy.
Hey, back. Kamari Lassiter, if you watch the end zone angle, Kamari Lassiter goes like this when Azeez hits him, and then he sees the scrap, and he's right in there.
Okay.
Derek Stingley came flying in from his side of the field.
Oh, he's ready. You remember he hit Schultz this year? Yeah, he's ready.
He was ready.
No, the defense is about it. I just wonder, like, if the equivalent of that happened on offense, what would it look like?
And then, well, hold on, let me finish. And then Chris Boyd flew in from nowhere across the field and was in the middle of everything, which was just like, I was like, what? What are you doing, Chris Boyd?
Wired up, dude.
But you're absolutely right. I do not want to see this situation ever with CJ Stroud because I don't want to end up being disappointed about the offensive lineman.
Yeah, Chris Boyd, no surprise. Hinish, no surprise. The defense, I mean, for the most part, the defense is ready to go. I mean, it's
you had Anderson and Hunter kind of holding everybody back, pulling things apart.
Well, let's be honest, nobody wants it with him anyways.
And then Mario Edwards kind of came in there at the very end.
Yeah. So yeah, it was it was interesting. I would not like to see the offensive equivalent of that, but I mean, I think we both agree. Suspension deserved, ejection deserved. You go back to the Chicago thing, reputation, naturally wired up.
I do think it's funny. Everybody's like, well, look at this highlight reel of Azeez Al-Shaair being dirty. And what they have is him putting his hand on Tom Brady's throat from a couple of years ago, punching a guy on the sideline against Chicago, and the Trevor Lawrence hit. And it's like, that's a reputation of being dirty?
Yeah.
Like that's the highlight reel of a dirty player.
Yeah, I don't know whether you're a dirty player or not. It was a dirty hit. Like it's okay to say like it was a dirty hit. Does that mean
still have a dirty hit without the intent to hurt the guy? It can end up as a dirty hit without having intent.
Like like a wreck. Like if you get in a wreck, like maybe something happened to where you ran that stop sign or whatever. But I mean, and if you've done it a couple times, or like it is what it is with Al-Shaair. Now, I've always enjoyed talking to Al-Shaair, at least like when he speaks. I think he's a pretty insightful, pretty a lot of depth for sure. So I mean, I don't think he needs like some sort of character assassination or anything like that. Like take the suspension, move on, and play football the way you play football. I mean, we saw this.
Do you believe it's going to be a 2-game that gets reduced? Do you believe it's going to be 1 game? Do you what do you feel like this?
I think we're looking at 2 games. I think we're looking at 2 games.
I feel like there's a chance it's 2 games and gets moved to 1.
Yeah, it could be 2-1. We'll see. I mean, I would say that's fair. And we have seen this because I think it's always interesting, like the mental side of it, where we had Denzel Perriman last year.
Mm-hmm.
And Denzel kind of played a certain way to where, man, it was just like it's what makes him. Like he has to play that way because he's not good in coverage. It's not like he's, a finesse linebacker. So, and I think Azeez has a little more finesse than Denzel. Obviously, he's obviously a better player, but Denzel got suspended and you were just kind of wondering, okay, how is he going to come back? Is he going to come back and he's going to let up? Nope, same guy. So yeah, like I think Azeez,
I'm not worried about that with Azeez.
Yeah, just play the way you play the game and learn your lesson. I think the one thing that Azeez could learn is, I mean, whenever you acknowledge that you understand his teammates coming to his defense and all that, just leave in a timely manner and you're good to go. Also thought DeMeco handled that well. I was kind of wondering how, the players coach that preaches play the right way, protect, and all that type of stuff. I was wondering if he was going to kind of go over the top defending his guy. But I mean, they immediately said, that's not how we do things, and that's not what we teach, and all that. So I thought that he handled it very well.
I also felt like his demeanor in the midst of Aziz still on the field and not leaving and breaking things up. I felt like his demeanor looked, and all we can see is what the television camera showed us, and they only showed little bits and pieces. But he was in there. It wasn't like yelling at Aziz, like, "What are you doing? Why did you do that?" It was like, "Hey, let's get over here." He was kind of shuffling him off to their sideline, and then eventually, he was gonna head to the tunnel. So it was like, "Hey, like let's go over here." Hey, what happened? I think I saw him mouth at one point. Hey, let's move on here.
McClain did not say this.
John McClain said it.
He said, this is from T All Good. John McClain said it was the worst hit he's seen in his 48 years of covering the NFL. Come on. He did. Come on, John.
The folks are not making this up, Lane. The folks are not making this up.
The worst hit he's seen in his 48 years. I've been covering the NFL for 48 years, and I can't remember a cheap shot worse than what Al-Shaair did to Lawrence. He'll be lucky to avoid a suspension. Okay.
I'm bummed you didn't do the voice.
No.
I've been covering the NFL for 48 years.
Big Steve, we would be complaining if you watch Trevor get a first down on 3rd and 10. I don't know. I mean, that's if you say so.
He did stop it for getting the first down.
You say so. Von Clutch, do y'all think we beat Miami coming out of the bye?
That team has can of quit potential. The Dolphins have big can of quit potential.
They also have big play potential.
They need some help, and they've got to play excellent football down the stretch. They're the 9th spot in the AFC right now. And pretty solidly in that spot. They have to climb past the Colts and the Broncos or Ravens to get a playoff spot. So it's not out of the question. They've got lots to play for. It's not going to be snowing at NRG Stadium like it was in Green Bay, so they're not going to immediately be unable to run their offense. And it's not like they have some awful, tough task that could really knock them out of things. They've got the Jets this week. So I would think they're going to put a win on the board, stay alive, and they're going to have a lot to play for coming into this matchup. Now, if they lose to the Jets somehow, you might get can of quit Dolphins.
Yeah, are they going to win?
I'm not predicting a win.
I don't have like an overwhelming amount of confidence in the game. But I mean, I wouldn't completely dismiss it. And we don't know what type of team the Texans are going to be coming off the bye.
The shame is Aziz won't be playing for that one. Can you imagine how scared Tua would be?
Yeah, that would not be an ideal guy for
Tua would never scramble.
Yeah, he would never scramble. There's no doubt about that. So the big things that Joe Mixon, Aziz Al-Shaair, what do we make of the secondary without Jalen Petrie? We saw the Derek Stingley vintage interception over the shoulder. Feels like he gets his hands on damn near every ball whenever he's running and looking over the shoulder. He got him an interception. He's been really solid this year. Although Mac Jones did come in and get 230 plus yards, 2 touchdowns, and he made the game somewhat interesting.
I was pretty disappointed with the overall defense allowing Mac Jones to sort of march down the field there and put points on the board. It was not any sort of like massive, like huge play. Like, oh, somebody busted a coverage and they got 40, 50 yards on one play. Like he matriculated down the field. They put together a big long drive there for that second scoring drive. And that's not supposed to happen. Like Jacksonville's backup quarterback. Hell, Jacksonville's starter's not supposed to put together a 10-play, 84-yard drive that ends in not only a touchdown, but a 2-point conversion. Like, that's not supposed to happen against this Houston Texans defense. There's supposed to be more. They didn't get any pass rush basically at all yesterday. It was one of their worst pass rush games from a pressure percentage all season long. They didn't even have double-digit quarterback pressures. And then the coverage was sloppy. Kamari Lassiter had a bad day. They found Eric Murray. They were putting linebackers in coverage a lot because they can't play Jeff Okudah. And it was not a good coverage day overall, certainly in the second half when Mac Jones had a chance to breathe, get himself situated, and came out there and had all of his yards in the second half. All of his performance was in the second half.
Baby model, man. The baby model. Came out there with slicing him up a little bit.
I saw you tweet that.
Yeah,
pictures.
I think.
I mean, they punted once. They missed a field goal. They made a field goal and scored 2 touchdowns. Like, you forced Mac Jones to punt once in the second half. Like, that's not good enough.
Yeah, the problem for me where I kind of got past and I was in the mindset the whole time of get the dub, get the hell out of there. We're not going to style point it. Like that was my mindset. No matter what it looks like, get out, get the bye, final quote quarter of the season or whatever. Let's see what this team looks like, and let's see if they're able to win the division. And then, hey, the Colts, man, kept the pressure up a little bit with their win. If they lose, then the magic number's 1. It's 2 now. But the second for me where it was kind of like, okay, I know I said this, but sports are kind of fluid, and sometimes things kind of shape up is as soon as Schultz scored the touchdown, you should have been able to go out to the grill and throw like the ribeye on there and relax and just kind of be looking at the game out of the side of your eye, getting ready for the 3:00 slate, just hanging out. Like you did not need to sweat that game out at the end. Like even with everything said like that, there's no excuse for that, especially when you're talking about one of the best defenses in the league, because for the most part, I think you can agree the reason that our expectations have been adjusted, like especially for this week, and the reason that perhaps the high hopes of this team have been nicked a little bit or diminished or even eliminated is because of the offense. So whenever they score the 2 second-half touchdowns and Dalton Schultz scores his first touchdown of the season and you see him spike the ball in the end zone, it's time to chill, man. Mm-hmm. It's time to chill, and they did not allow that. So, yes, you survived in advance, but that was where I was just kind of like, what? We're gonna make this interesting to where Joe Mixon's gonna have another nice run. And I feel like this has kind of happened a couple of times. Indianapolis game comes to mind too, where Joe Mixon was doing his dance in the end zone. I think he surpassed 150. And then the Colts had an immediately quick touchdown. I think it was Dublin or whatever. Doolin. Yeah, he scored the quick touchdown. And then all of a sudden that got interesting. And CJ Stroud, first play out of the 2-minute warning, had to make that throw to DeMeco to ice it up. So it's just kind of like, man, y'all gotta, I shouldn't have to sweat this one out. I gotta be chilling. I'm preheating the grill and getting ready for that 3.
It's 23-12. The Texans get the ball back after the failed 2-point conversion by Jacksonville. And they come out and it's an immediate 3-and-out. And I'm not super critical of the play calls. Like they ran Joe Mixon, or they tried to throw it to Nico Collins. They ran Joe Mixon. Then they threw it to Nico Collins for 9 yards. And he gets 9 on a play where 95% of the time he gets 10 or 11 yards. So he gets 9 yards and they're on the 4th and 1. And then at that point, the lead you have, it's 11 points. You put it on the defense. Okay. Like, yeah, they tried the fake punt thing. I don't know if they were actually going to go through with the fake punt. It felt like they tried the fake punt scramble to get the Jaguars to maybe jump, and then they were going to punt it or take the delay of game. And so you put it on the defense at that point, and then that's when Mac Jones matriculates down the field in less than 3 minutes and puts up points. And you're like, that's not really a killer instinct, close it out type thing. I didn't want them to go for it on that 4th and 1. I thought about it for excuse me for a second.
No, don't.
I didn't want them to go for it because then you really give Jacksonville an opportunity to be feeling themselves. They don't have to get as far or go as far as an offense. But you put it on the defense there, and the defense doesn't close it out for you. And that's supposed to be they have the Mariano Rivera roles to close it out for you in that spot, and they didn't do it.
Yeah, and and quite frankly, recently, we've been talking about, the offense needs to do this because the defense is being asked to do too much, and really didn't seem like a tough task to keep this one not interesting and let me stay outside and kind of fire up the grill a little bit. They kind of made that a little bit difficult. So I thought that was, it is what it is. They got the win. And there was that. You mentioned the play calling. I thought Bobby Slowick was good. Lot fewer runs early on. Imagine that. And you kind of saw the pass game get going early on. So I think that was a nice adjustment by Bobby Slowick. I don't have like a specific complaint about Slowick. I thought he did a pretty good job yesterday.
All but 4 of the passes that they threw to Nico Collins were first down. They threw the ball to Nico Collins on first down a tremendous amount. They threw the ball on first down a lot overall, not just to Nico Collins. That was one of the biggest adjustments that was a huge positive for this team and for this offense. And that was a great job by Bobby Slowick, a great job by CJ Stroud and Nico Collins to execute that element of the offense, because it gave them a little bit of get into a rhythm, feel something like this offense is headed in the right direction, calm down. Hey, we got a first down. We can go to Nico. Keep the train on the tracks. All the cliches that offensive coordinators like to talk about. It allowed them to finally do that. Now, did they get to the red zone and kind of, throw up all over themselves like they typically do? Yeah, that happens. But I really liked the adjustment to, hey, we're not gonna pound this run game to nowhere like they've done in previous weeks. They threw the ball a ton to Nico Collins, and they did it primarily on first down, and that's a great adjustment to the offense, and it worked out very well for this team, and it's something that I hope to see continue throughout the course of the rest of this season.
Well, the one play that they did have, and against Jacksonville, you can overcome it, but I think it's just happening too often, and it happens early, and there's really no method to it, is they have murderous penalties that just kill drives and negate opportunity. You saw it against Minnesota, where we forget, like, before the wheels fell off, they had like 25, 30-yard pass. Was it to Dell or Nico to start the game?
It was Dell.
It was Dell to start the game, and that got negated, and then the wheels kind of fell off against Minnesota. Against the Cowboys, you had the first play to Nico Collins, where would have been like a 70-yard touchdown and a triumphant return from injury. That gets negated by Tunsil. They overcame that. Cowboys suck. And they didn't overcome it against Minnesota. The wheels kind of just fell off. That's an actual good team. Jags suck. And it appears that you're grooving. The offense is grooving a little bit. CJ finds Nico. They move the chains, 15-plus yards. You get the point. And Kate Stover lines up offsides. Like they said, as soon as the ref puts his hands on the hip, I'm thinking, okay, well, first down. The dude lined up offsides. Like, and I'm not sitting here. Obviously, Bobby Slowick doesn't teach Kate Stover to line up offsides. And Kate Stover, this isn't a Tunsil situation or Titus Howard. Like, I can promise you, if we walk over to Kate Stover's locker and say, what was up with that offsides? I'm a dumbass. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. That was stupid. I can't. Yeah. It's not going to be like the refs got to communicate with us type of vibe. But my point is, that's just the little things that just tend to be kind of consistent. I just gave you 3 examples in 13 games. That one was a little bit frustrating, because not only did it kill the drive, it took you out of field goal range. And it kind of prevented you from getting off to a really, really good start against the Jags.
Well, and even if it was last year's offense from a passing standpoint, but like you see really, really excellent offenses they can live with a play like that here or there. Like this offense, so many times throughout the course of the season, has lived in the margins, and they can't afford 5 yards, take points off the board, because then it turns into, okay, like it all snowballed right after Cade Stover. Like they are moving the ball. They're cutting through the Jaguars. This is their first drive. They're getting ready to put points on the board, and Stover's offsides. CJ Stroud makes a quick decision to Dalton Schultz. The Jaguars make a really nice play, batting it away. And then Stroud hangs on to the rock too long and gets sacked by Travon Walker for 13 yards. And they're out of field goal range. And it's like, what's going on here? Like they just snowball it, and they're not talented enough, and they don't play well enough to consistently overcome those things. So for some teams, they're smaller, medium-sized penalties. 5 yards and wiping out a first down is huge for this offense, the way that they typically play.
Yeah, there's not as much margin for error, and a lot of the errors you perhaps can't control. I mean, there could be limitations skill-wise, and there could be limitations talent-wise, but you can prevent not lining up offsides. Like that's an easy prevention. And again, Cade Stover would be the first one to admit that. But that was just kind of a small thing. Sticking with the offensive line, lowest pressure rate I think CJ Stroud faced this year. What do we make of the performance by the O-line? Hell, DeMeco Ryan said they got game balls. We gave a game ball to the offensive line. So
watch the locker room speech, and he said, I felt your presence all game long. Yeah, did you? Because they ran for like 1 yard a carry in the first half. But if you're gonna go, there's 4 pieces to the offensive line. They got a pass block in both halves. They got a run block in both halves. They went 3 out of 4. They pass blocked in both halves, and they run blocked really well in the second half, bouncing back.
Man, I don't know, man. Like even the Mixon, like the runs and stuff, that just looked like all Mixon. Like especially the touchdown. I'm not sitting.
Okay, well they didn't screw it up. Like because they've screwed up Joe's stuff before. Well, they didn't screw it up. Like you're the king of grade them on a curve. Like they didn't screw it up.
No, I know they got it complete. They got it complete, but I mean, I guess it's reality. I'm not questioning it, but that's pretty sad if that's a game ball effort. I'll just be honest. I mean, and actually, maybe it's not sad. Maybe it's just kind of nice. I don't know how to feel about that. Like,
I mean, the 2 sacks were on the quarterback. They averaged 5 yards a carry with their starting running back. Like,
okay,
how is that not a game ball situation?
I mean, because I watched the game. I mean, I watched Joe Mixon bounce it outside and just like what we've heard all year, where Joe Mixon a lot of times is doing it despite the O-line. Like I watched the game. I didn't just pull up the box score and say 5 yards per carry. I saw it. I didn't.
Again, Landry, they didn't mess it up. Like they've messed it up before. So like not messing it up is an achievement for them.
Yeah, for them. But yeah, so they would have gotten one. Give me 4 game balls. You're 4 game balls right now.
Landry, you're the king of they're held to a different standard. I'm holding them to the standard that you hold them to.
I'm not the coach, though, man. I'm not the
coach. They
coach.
hold the offensive line to a different standard.
No,
DeMeco Ryan stands up there on Mondays and says, look how good they did. Look at Kenyon Green. Of course he gave them a game ball.
I didn't think they were getting a game ball, Cody.
They should never get a game ball. They're awful.
I didn't think that they were getting a game ball.
I'm just telling you why they gave them a game ball.
Let me give out my game balls, okay? Are you giving out?
Did you just look around for a ball to hand to the?
Yeah, hold on.
Camera?
Let me give away my game balls like DeMeco. Hold on.
Okay, so this is going to be. I can't even imagine what Landry's game ball situation is going to be here. There we go. Imagine that. The football equipment in the locker. Oh no! Now the lockers won't close. There we go. He's got the game ball ready to pass it out. All right. The Landry Locker game balls.
All right, fellas. It's a hell of a win right there. A win is a win.
You got to pat it a couple times.
We got the bye week. My first game ball. I got 4 of these. Offensive line, you guys can go shower. None of you are getting a game ball. First game ball goes to, where's he at? Joe Mixon. Hey, Joe, here you go. How about this guy? This guy set the tone. He wouldn't let us lose. Your energy's been contagious. Nobody deserves this bye week more than you. Joe Mixon, ice up. Thank you very much for not letting us lose. You bring a lot to this football team. Nobody deserves this bye week more than you. Here you go. Joe Mixon, game ball 1.
Okay.
Hey, where's Stingley at? Derek. Man, I tell you what, I've heard of Revis Island. I've played with a lot of corners in my time. I got to tell you, you are on track to be not only one of the best corner in Texans franchise history, but one of the best corners in this league. How about Derek Stingley? Finally got his hands on one and got him one. We've seen you. Hey, about time you caught the ball, Derek. Here you go, buddy. There you go, Derek Stingley.
I don't think everybody understands how good that cadence was, because DeMeco does go like
no,
and then it's
How about
everybody.
I got you intercepted. There you go. So Derek Stingley's number 2.
Okay, keep going.
All right. Next game ball. This guy, he provides us with something that you can't measure. The stats speak for themselves. We all know. We look at the top. Guys, we look at the top of the standings. We hear the outside noise. It's always nice to put up stats. Another 100 yards for this guy. But you know what? You can't measure the toughness that this guy brings to the team. He did a hell of a job setting the tone for this offense and making big plays, big game-changing plays. Nico, come on up here. Nico, here's your game ball. It's 3 game balls.
Okay.
Right there.
I think I got an idea where this 4th one's headed.
Okay, guess.
No, go ahead.
Guys, we wouldn't be where we are today without this guy. There's a lot of glory in this game. And a lot of times when you succeed, you get a lot of praise. This is one of the most thankless jobs in football. And one of the things, what is one of the things that we practice and that we preach when it comes to going through the grind of a season? We preach adversity and overcoming adversity. Uncharacteristic mistake from this guy last week. But we would not be a first place in the division football team without this guy. And he was perfect today. Kaimi Fairbairn, come get your football.
Oh, okay. Okay. I thought Aziz was going to get a football from fake coach DeMeco. I thought Aziz was getting a football. He knocked the starting quarterback out of the game.
Yeah, the offensive line didn't come up, man.
Here's something that will annoy you. In the praise of the offensive line, in the locker room speech, and DeMeco Ryan says, I felt their presence all game long, got it done, blah, blah, blah. O-line. You get a game ball. And then there's just a little moment. He goes, oh, yeah, Joe was good too. Joe was good too. Joe's the reason the O-line looks good.
Yeah, Joe.
They should have to. They should have to pay parts of their salary to Joe Mixon like he's the Godfather, because he makes them look better. Like they should have to peel off pieces of their salaries to Joe Mixon because he makes them look better.
It's a fact.
Yeah,
fact, man. It's kind of where they're at, dude. It's kind of where they're at. It is what it is. But yeah, nice job. Nothing to do. We've focused pretty well on the good. Is there any bad? Is there anything bad that stuck out in this game? I can't think of anything too terrible.
I mean, I think bad is relative. Like, would I have preferred CJ Stroud to not take those 2 sacks? Certainly. Both of those felt very much on him. Like he should have been firing the ball, getting it out, especially the one in the red zone. If he just keeps in the pocket, and I know it's hard to, because he's been, attacked from every angle quickly this season by defensive linemen. But if he hangs in the pocket for just a couple more seconds and hits, looks a little bit back left, he had Schultz wide open in front of the end zone. So it's like, stand and deliver in there, and then the next play it's 3rd and long. You're not getting into the end zone. There's clearly defenders. You're not going to be able to rush into the end zone. The only way that you're going to be able to move the ball is to throw it. And I understand you don't want to throw an interception in the red zone, but it felt like, hey, it's okay. Well, no one's open. No one's going to get open. I'll just grab a few yards, and Kaimi will take care of business. I would have liked a different decision there. He did it on the 3rd and super long against the Titans as well. He tried to run on 3rd and 15 when, if he just stepped up and stood behind the line of scrimmage, he still could have delivered something.
They're getting open. You sure they're getting open?
No, they're not. But I'd rather him take another 2 beats and try to see if somebody gets open.
Swarm in the soup.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Zach says, happy belated Thanksgiving, fellas. Thanks for the content. P.S. Bobby is a bum. We're still mad at Bobby, huh?
Damn it, Bobby.
Still mad at Bobby.
I'd still make the change.
Yeah, I still would too. I would look beyond it and still make the change at OC. I would 100% still do it. They're not going to, though.
No, there was
enough.
There was a minimal chance that they would, with a victory and the offense putting up an amazing 23 points against the worst defense of the AFC.
Oh wow!
They're definitely not making a change.
Yeah, the other thing, and this is kind of just like a symbol, and we'll get to the grades at the top of the hour. We're 3 minutes away from landlocked grades, which you can also read on HOU football. That's coming up at the top of the hour. So be ready for that. I also thought kind of symbolic, if we're looking big-ish picture, much like the Cade Stover lining up offsides, I think kind of resembled some of the disappointment of the season. I also thought that the opportunity Stingley provided the offense with to go up 2 possessions on the interception, and then the offense's inability to get in the end zone, kind of thought that was kind of symbolic of the defense putting together superhuman efforts, whether it be over the course of a whole game or just something like that, and the offense not being able to do their part. Small sample, didn't happen throughout the course of the thing, but
I mean, yeah, they get that thing on the Jacksonville 44, and 11 plays later they're settling for a field goal. That is rough.
Yeah, it's rough. So are they an outside running team now? Is that where we're at? Is that the
well,
thing?
I think they seem to have much more success outside than between the tackles. They're not moving any earth from guard to guard.
I know, it's just kind of,
and even then, it's not like they're, Mixon's big 30-yard run, which, be honest, you thought they were going to have to settle for a field goal when he went out at the 7.
I did for sure.
And then they handed it right back to him, and he kind of that. And again, this was something that we'd been asking for, or I asked for from Bobby Slowick after last week. Is, hey, watch what Tennessee did getting the ball in their running back's hands in different ways. It's not just under center, stretches to the guy. Mixon took that out of the shotgun and kind of ran it across the formation and cut it up the field and found daylight and scored a touchdown after the 30-yard carry. So you didn't have to settle for a field goal because Mixon took care of the business. There's some better opportunities to get Mixon space where he can make things happen with his vision and his ability to cut back. And I tell you what, they had that one play schemed up where they basically decided, Joe, you get this guy one-on-one, and if you beat him, you can take care of business. And certainly that's what Mixon did. He took it backwards a little bit and then took it outside. So it's a really, really good job by Joe Mixon.
Very good job by Joe Mixon. It is SNL here on Cody Stoots' channel, my channel, The Locker Room on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe. And be sure to subscribe to the podcast. Locker, Stoots, Texans, type it in, subscribe. Even if you're not like an audio listener, just go ahead and do it. It's the best audio form of Texans content you can get 365 days a year as we head in to the bye week. Texans get the dub over the Jags. If you're an HOU football subscriber, you're aware of the landlocked grades. Let's get into the grades here on SNL. With Landry, Locker, and Cody Stoots. All right, so the Texans get the dub. Let's start with the quarterback. Look, I know that Stoots said that, and not wrongfully, that this was CJ Stroud's one of his better games of the year. I don't disagree, but I still hold CJ Stroud to a very high standard, regardless of what we've seen this year. I still hold CJ Stroud to a standard where if Tank Dell's that wide open, get it to him probably a little bit quicker. And don't put as much air on it. And some of the other mistakes that CJ Stroud made. So I actually gave CJ Stroud a C. Despite this being one of his better performances, I actually gave CJ Stroud a C. Did not think he was great. And unlike the offensive line, which I've kind of adjusted, they're now on pass fail or complete incomplete when it comes to grades. I still hold CJ Stroud to the honor roll standard. And based on that, I'm giving CJ Stroud a C, and I think CJ Stroud honor roll standard.
Honor roll. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, what did I say?
You kind of slammed both the words together for honor roll, and I didn't know what that meant.
No, honor roll. Sorry.
Gotcha.
Not on the honor roll. You can tell with that, but yes, I give CJ Stroud a C, and we will see what CJ Stroud does after the bye week, and if perhaps there's a recharge, and we see him perform up to the standard that he has set, because we expect so much from him. So I'm giving him a C. Running backs, A+, Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon, A+. He needs to ice up. I think some of those runs look like it was all Joe. I know that the offensive line got the game ball from old DeMeco yesterday. But Joe Mixon yesterday, they do not win that game without Joe Mixon. They are not where they're at without Joe Mixon. And Joe Mixon, whatever the hell you need to do, ice up. Let's have him ready for the playoffs. Wrap up that division as soon as possible, because you have no hope of making a run without that dude doing what he do. A+, Joe Mixon. I don't even need to look at the rest of the running backs. Joe Mixon, if this was a group project, he basically did all the work. He went up there, he presented it to the class, and he knocked it out of the park. A+, Joe Mixon.
Great job by the group that is the running backs. Joe Mixon, Daria Gumbawale, Damian Pierce, you all get A+ on the back of Joe Mixon's great work.
Now, in the chat, shout out to all the SNL folks that are with us here, and locker room subscribers as well. I think they kind of summarized this. They said Nico Collins gets an A, the rest of the receivers get an F. So I like where your head's at. We're going to meet in the middle. Nico Collins, he did his thing. Nico Collins, 119 yards on 8 receptions. The rest of the wide receivers combined, 3 catches for 39 yards. And Tank Dell, in fairness, was open for that touchdown. CJ kind of missed him. Who knows whether he catches it or not. He's been dropping passes. Dell with 1 catch for 23 yards. His production has been really, really, really mediocre this season. There may be a lot of factors, but it's been very, very mediocre. There's reason to believe that perhaps these receivers are not getting open. So it's Nico and everyone else. I'm going to give the receivers a C+. Nico Collins carrying the receivers, the rest of them not doing much. So the wide receivers as a group, C+. Tight ends, Dalton Schultz. Most production we've seen out of Dalton Schultz. Most targets in a game at 7. Tied his season high in receptions with 5. Second most receiving yards, 61. First touchdown of the season. The only negative is he does not need to be trying to hurdle anyone. That's not a good look for him. I thought he broke his leg. I actually thought he died.
I thought he broke his collarbone.
Yeah.
Because he immediately was grabbing his shoulder when he was on the ground, and then the way he came down with the defender, I thought he broke his collarbone.
It also looked like he ripped his leg. Like don't do that, Dalton. It's not. Don't do that. And then Cade Stover just kind of there. The offsides penalty that Cade Stover had. I mean, come on. Like, you lined up offsides. I can't remember the last time I saw a referee touch his hips and point in the direction of the offense. Like, I don't know that I've seen that all year. Oh yeah, I saw it with the Texans against the Minnesota Vikings. So I'm going to give them a B. The blocking, I'm not going to sit here and act like I watched the all 22 and broke down the tape, but there are a lot of whiffs on the blocking when it comes to the tight ends, and they're asked to do some stuff. But Dalton Schultz, the clear number 2 receiving option for CJ Stroud, his best game of the year when you balance it all out in that aspect. Let's give the tight ends a B.
Feels fair. I mean, Cade Stover lining up offsides is like spelling your name wrong on the test.
Offensive line, I know DeMeco Ryans gave him a game ball. I'll be honest, I thought Joe Mixon kind of, a lot of the runs were Mixon. They were good. The pressure rate was as low as it's been all season long. There weren't like a lot of insane mistakes. I know that Tunsil got beat by Allen, which kind of happens. I think he beat him 3 times last year when Tunsil was banged up. I'm going to give them a complete. They're not in the letter grade. If you've been following this, they're in the pass fail. So they are in the complete. And if you see this handwriting, this is Shaq Mason writing his grade on the chalkboard right now. So there you go.
You write it with a mouse next time.
No, I think it. No. Come on. Now you just blew the cover that you're the one writing this. I thought we were having some fun here, Shaq. Offensive line complete. D-line. We didn't see the pressure from the edge as much. They did hold the Jags, though, and I thought this was kind of telling because if you're just watching the game, you would have thought Jacksonville was running the ball much more effectively than they were. Moose Johnson actually praised Doug Peterson for the job they did on the ground. They had 97 yards. I mean,
like most of them came on that one drive after Trevor Lawrence got his egg scrambled.
Yeah, they committed to the run a little bit there. It is interesting. Like, why do they not run the ball a little bit more when they got the long hair dude back there? But it is what it is. I still gave the D-line a B. I didn't think it was terrible. I still gave them a B. I thought it was solid enough. There weren't like significant mistakes. Maybe Mac Jones had more time than you would like, but hey, charge it to the game. I gave the D-line a B. So is that too generous? Am I being are they my teacher's pets? It's possible that, you know what? The D-line might be my teacher's pets. Like, I don't know if they deserve that B or not, but you know what? You guys have been so great all year that I'm just going to give you a B.
Okay, that's fair.
Linebackers, F. Actually, I'll give the linebackers a D. I'll give them a D. I thought that the performance by Neville Hewitt was fine. He had him and To'o both had 8 tackles. They weren't bad. But when Azeez Al-Shaair gets ejected and the scene broke out, we're just going to have to give it a D. Can't have that. So I'll give them a D. And I also thought there was a little bit of inconsistency from them. So we'll give the linebackers a D. Defensive backs, C. Gonna give them a C. Derek Stingley, still great. Jalen Petrie, obviously missed. Mac Jones, 235 yards and 2 touchdowns, not great. This is a scary, scary, scary area for this football team right now at DB, where there's a snowball effect with Petrie out. I think Jimmy Ward's good in that nickel role, but there's a snowball effect back there. It's a scary thought to think about what that's going to look like when you start facing really good teams for the remainder of the season and potentially in the playoffs. DBs get a C. Not amazing. Special teams, A. Special teams get an A. Fairbairn didn't miss a field goal. Tommy Townsend actually punted well. Probably should have down one in the 5, but Chris Boyd, I think he lost it in the sun. Man, those shadows in that field, they don't even need an indoor stadium like Jerry World to have those shadows. Chris Boyd kind of lost it. Chris Boyd's been great on special teams. So that kind of happens. He's always hustling. And you saw Tommy kind of like, man, should have had that. But I thought the special teams, they get an A. Devin Duvernay also kept in check for the most part. He's one of the better kick returners in the league. No kick returns for the Texans, no opportunity. But there was also something else on special teams that I think kind of got me a little bit excited. We had the longest punt return of the day for 14 yards from Tank Dell. We talk about Tank Dell's receiving or lack thereof. That left me wanting a little bit more. I'm not going to lie. The Tank Dell punt return, I don't know if they were just thinking, hey, you're in Florida, your family's here, we're not getting you involved in offense. Let's let you go out there in front of your family and friends and return a punt. I don't know. But I found myself wanting a little bit more Tank Dell punt returning when I saw that one punt return. Coaching. Let's give the coaching a C. Coaching is a C. The offensive game plan was fine. The run wasn't forced. The defensive game plan was fine. The special teams were good. However, and this is just fairness, whenever your hand-picked team captain that plays your position, that is supposed to be a symbol of what Texans football is and all about, puts on the display that Azeez Al-Shaair put on. I'm not trying to be Moose Johnston. It kind of falls on the coach. So I'm going to go ahead and give the coaches a C. Those are the landlock week 13 grades for the Houston Texans as they head into the bye week and ice up for the Miami Dolphins and the tough stretch that we've been talking about for a long, long time.
I feel like you were very fair on all the positions with maybe a slight favoritism to the defensive line.
Guilty. Teachers' pets.
I will say even the stats that you look at from the defensive line, what they allowed on the ground, like, again, most of the rushing yards that they allowed, like over a third of them, came on that one drive where Lawrence got hurt. They'd run the ball a little bit before that, and then they ran the ball exclusively after that. They came on that drive, so they stuffed them on the ground for a good portion, but only 3 quarterback hits is not good enough.
It's the landlock grades here on SNL with Landry Locker and Cody Stutes on YouTube. So the Tennessee Titans, they completely wet the bed. It's obvious that was their Super Bowl when they beat the Texans. I mean, any hopes of some sort of magical run are gone. The Titans are gone and the Jags are gone and they're dead. So it's now just a two-man race between the Texans and Colts. Colts are favored in every ball game that they got for the remainder of the season. The Texans, they got a tough schedule. How we feeling about the state of winning the AFC South now compared to where we were
a week ago
before this? Yes.
A week ago when they lost to the 2-win Tennessee Titans. I mean, it still feels so terribly unlikely that they're going to lose this division and that they're not going to end up as the AFC South champions. Like, it would be so difficult to lose this division. Like, you would have to be very bad after the bye week, and the Colts would have to be very good after the bye week. They're going to win the division.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I don't feel any more or less confident. I mean, I don't feel like
they're minus 10,000 to win the AFC South.
No, I know. And if you put a gun to my head, I would say that the Texans are going to win the AFC South, and I would make dinner plans. Like, so I mean, that would, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it's the same feeling that I had. I thought there was a possibility that the Colts could have lost to the Patriots, but I don't look at this. And they didn't. So by that measure, and I actually put 500 on it on the live stream. So I won $500. That's when you know you got a gambling problem, when you win $500 and then you're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, because that was what? It was 2.5 was the number, plus 2.5?
3.5.
3.5.
Opened at 3.5.
Oh my
God. Patriots. Yeah, it opened at 3.5. So I think the fact that the Colts won that, it makes me feel it's kind of a surprise, to be honest with you. But I don't think the Colts can win 5 games in a row. Like that's not. I mean, how many teams this year have won 5 games in a row? Like that's hard to imagine the Colts doing that.
That's actually. I mean, I don't know who currently has won 5 games. I mean,
We know the Chiefs have. We know the Chiefs did. The Vikings started out with 5 wins, right?
so Chiefs, yes.
Vikings,
Yes. Eagles, yes.
yes.
Lions,
Eagles have.
yes.
Lions have.
The Vikings are actually on their second 5-game winning streak.
Yes.
The Bills, yes.
Yes, they're hot. They're good.
Did Pittsburgh win 5 straight at any point? Yes.
Yes, they're good. They're battling. Like, which of those does not belong? Like, the Colts are going to go win 5 in a row. Like, that's my point. Like, my point is, like, it's 5 games in a row. Like, even if you just think the Texans are absolute ass, and you think that the Texans for the next 4, let's say you think they're going to go 1-3, and you're one of those people who said, "Oh, they can't beat Miami, they can't beat Baltimore, they can't beat Kansas City." Like, if the Texans win 1 game, the Colts have to run the table.
Yeah,
and that would mean
the Colts are on bye this week as well.
Yeah,
and then they've got 4 games down the stretch, just like the Texans do, at Denver versus Tennessee, at New York versus Jacksonville. That's the Giants, by the way, in New York.
Yes,
It's like, I mean, can they go 3-1 down the stretch? Yes. If they go 3-1 down the stretch, the Texans would have to lose out to lose the division.
Yeah,
It's not happening.
no, it's not.
Minus 10,000.
Okay, $10,000 to win 100. You have to be a sicko to do that.
I mean, there's tougher ways to earn $100. There's a lot easier ways too.
Yeah, but yeah, the division. Now, I will say this: I think it's important to finish this sooner rather than later, because I would like to have, especially with this squad, I would like to have the de facto bye, where in week 18 against the Titans, it basically means nothing, to where you can have Joe Mixon ice up, you can ice up Nico Collins, you can get guys ready for the playoffs.
When Nick Broker plays right guard, and we're like, why hasn't he been playing right guard all year long?
Yeah, I think you want to have kind of that opportunity to get fully healthy, and Buffalo has it. Buffalo yesterday wrapped up their division. Like, they were able to do what many of us had hoped that the Texans would be able to do, which is wrap up their division. So they did it. But I mean, it's hard to imagine the Colts doing what they would have to do to get this done.
The Colts do not possess the ability to do what is necessary to put the pressure on the Texans. And by the way, the Texans go 2-2 down the stretch. Doesn't matter what the Colts do. The Texans can
yeah, you win 2 games, it's over. It's a combination of wins or losses.
The Texans can decide this division with or without the Colts' help. So, so okay. Outside of the division, Landry, did anything yesterday inspire any hope for the grand scheme of what the Texans have in front of them and the likely playoff game that they're going to host? Like, did anything yesterday inspire hope for you in the long term? Like, obviously we know Joe Mixon's really good. He's been good all year long. Like, is there anything else that happened in that game that sort of, hey, this gives me a little bit more hope than I had going into the Jacksonville game?
Yesterday, like anything? No. I mean, there wasn't anything that that happened that changed my feeling one way or the other at all. No, nothing.
You didn't get no change, no negative movement, no positive movement whatsoever.
This might be too nerdy. Like, y'all might laugh at me for this. This might be dorky, but I think the one thing that I think could cost this team in the playoffs, and I think we're seeing it around the league at a team that the Texans are chasing, would have been Ka'imi Fairbairn having the permanent yips. I was glad to see him bounce back.
Justin Tucker.
Dang. Whew, that's a tough one to watch for me. Um, but yeah, I think that, you know, I was happy to see Miami get back and do what he needed to do because I mean, there's a lot. I mean, it stopped the line. You can make a case it stopped the Lions from winning a Super Bowl last year. And it's Baltimore, like that's their problem right now. And the crazy thing about Baltimore is I don't think that's a good combination. Like, I think some combinations work out. Like, I think that an alcoholic can marry like a church girl. And I think the combination can work out fine. I think that a absolute wild party rager could even fall in love with like just a nerd. And I think there's a lot of combinations that are like the opposite that can produce still good results and good ways of living. But I don't think you can combine a drug addict and like an alcoholic and have a stable marriage. And with how analytics heavy the Ravens are, if in the back of their mind they're thinking about a kicker with the yips too, that is actually like really, really like, are they gonna like when they get to like the 43, like the 39 or something, and it's like fourth and 6, so they're going to start going for it or something like that? Like, how are the Ravens with all that analytic crap going to handle having a shaky kicker? Like, are they going to get to like the 20 and it's going to be like 4th and 4 and they're going to decide to go for it or something like that? It's a bad combination to be that like analytically obsessed and have a kicker who was you've always been able to rely on him as like the best kicker of all time. That's the other thing about it, is like this has been the most accurate kicker in NFL history up to this point. And now all of a sudden the Baltimore Ravens are to a point where you have an MVP caliber QB, you have a good defense, and now you're like in the back of your mind, you're having to wonder, like, can we rely on this kicker? Because they haven't had to worry about that for damn near a decade. Like, they haven't had to worry about it at all.
Yeah, that's a potential playoff opponent for you too. I mean, the chances that the Ravens end up in the 5 spot are pretty decent because they've got the tiebreaker over the Los Angeles Chargers. So you could see the Ravens on Christmas, and then you could see them a couple of weeks later, just like the Browns situation from a year ago.
Mr. Heisberg, Landry, what the hell are you talking about? I'm just saying it's a toxic combination, and I think there can be toxicity that can mix. Like, you can have a really, really aggressive coach with a really, really good kicker. Like, you can have that like in life and stuff, but like it's not when you're talking about the Ravens and all the, some would say, overthought that they put into analytics. When you have to worry about Justin Tucker now, I think it could lead to, in close games down the stretch, it could lead to like really, really costly decision making by them. That's all I'm saying.
They another element of the Fox broadcast being subpar yesterday, they treated Miami like he was Happy Gilmore. Like he couldn't, like he never made a short one. Like,
yeah, he's missed 2. So the other thing that I think there's a factor
they
too.
treated it like Happy Gilmore's putting. Like, oh, here we go.
I mean, that was a big one last week. But I think it's possible that maybe they just watched last week's game, and they were obviously watching the Thursday night game when he shanked it because they weren't working and it was like a national TV game. So maybe there's that factor to it. But I mean, it is kind of wild.
With the swapping of networks, is you could tell that these guys had not watched a lot of Texans games. Like,
yeah,
the CBS crews
and you can't blame them. It's not necessarily their fault.
No, but just the CBS crews are more in tune with the Texans over the years.
Yes. The Fairbairn thing is interesting because I think kicking is kind of, and I actually want to ask him about this because he's a good golfer, right? Isn't he like a badass golfer, like really, really good?
Mm-hmm. Apparently he's quite good.
Like badass. I do think there's like a golf factor to kicking where I think the way that football fans watch, I don't know how the hell we got in a kicking discussion. I apologize.
This is all your fault.
But I think they're like to be quick. I think a lot of football fans look at it as you just kick the ball, and if you kick it hard enough, it goes through the upright, and this is easy. And anytime a kicker kicks a 50-yarder, it's almost like it was expected. And if he misses one, then it's like he sucks. He's the biggest loser in the world. Kickers, blah blah blah. But there is like, but like in golf, like if you're shooting a golf shot, like a lot of times it's the hardest thing in the world. We all know this, like it's difficult. But I do think that there's a lot of like common factors in kicking with like timing, wind. Sometimes it would be good from here, like it would have landed on the green from here, but it wouldn't have here. I think they're
all the same mechanics every time.
Yeah, so I do think there's a lot of factors in it, and I think that there's probably like a little, and once you're mentally screwed, you're mentally screwed. Like we've seen that in golf. Like I think there is a little bit more depth to kicking than like the average football fan, like you, myself, or anyone else kind of looks at it, you know. And there's only 32 of them too, you know. Like it's not like, you know, it's not like a quarterback or a wide receiver or a running back where, man, this guy's struggling, let's bench him, and then maybe we'll bring him back next week and figure it out. Like it's, you know, like if a kicker misses 3 field goals, like if a running back or quarterback has 3 fumbles, his ass might be on the bench. He might have a chance to regroup and go back out there, but he's going to save himself from putting himself in that situation. If a kicker does, yeah, we only got one of you, your ass is going back out there.
Exactly. Yeah, there's nobody that can do his job except for him. And well, when you get in a bad spot as a kicker, you like if the Patriots had a better kicker, the Texans would be one step closer to the winning the division because their kicker, former Texans kicker Joey Sly, the kicker guy, missed a couple of field goals yesterday.
Yep. So there's our kicking quota here on SNL.
There's our kicking quota for the season.
We surpassed. Well, mark that. Probably going to need Kyami Fairbairn for the remainder of the season in some big situations.
Hope not. Hope the offense is just awesome and they never need him. Go for 2 every time. Keep him on ice.
Localized thoughts from the weekend. Did you watch that Buffalo snow game and think about how disastrous that is going to be if the Texans have to go in the snow? By the way, that's their fall. I was talking to my wife. We were sitting on the couch and she's like, "That looks miserable." And I was like, how much would I have to pay you to go like to that game? Like just go in that game. Cause we're both not cold weather people. And I thought about it and I was like, you know, that's the equivalent of this chilly day that we had yesterday where it was like 55, 60 degrees or whatever. And we were acting crazy. That's their fall. Like yesterday, that is nothing compared to what it'll be once the playoffs come around.
Did you understand what was going on with the snow? Because like Perico tried to explain it like 4 times and he didn't explain it well to me. It was not snowing in like Buffalo proper, but it was snowing heavily at the stadium. Did that make sense to you? Did you understand that? Or do I need to just go consult the meteorologist? I did not understand what he was talking about because every city shot of Buffalo, there was no snow. But obviously they got pounded with snow at the stadium. He was like, "Oh, it's a lake snow or something." Did you understand that?
I didn't even notice. Be honest with you.
He talked about it like 9 times in the game because the 49ers couldn't do anything to keep the game close. But by
the way, they should lose their franchise, Buffalo. Like they shouldn't be allowed to have an NFL team anymore. I'm serious. That is embarrassing. Like that's pathetic. They're building a new stadium and then there's not going to be an indoor option. Look, if you want to be weirdos and like when it's minus 16 degrees, like open the roof and throw snowballs and stuff. Okay. But let's at least get a retractable roof. Y'all might actually grow to like it, but let's get a retractable roof and at least cover it whenever the monsoon's going through so that we don't have to have randos going in there and shoveling snow. And some will say, well, that's part of the community. Nah, get over it. Like these people pay who knows how much to go sit in these seats. Like, let's just cover them. I know it's unavoidable. And if y'all want to open it during the game, cool. I think the players would probably be opposed to it, even though they kind of embrace it. But let's cover it up before the game so that things are a little bit better. Like that's asinine to build in this business a $1 billion stadium or whatever with the inevitable, unavoidable weather that they have and not have an indoor option. That's a joke. That's embarrassing. That's pathetic.
I do think the Texans are more well-equipped than in the past to play in that type of game. The problem is when you watch Buffalo succeed with the rushing attack, it was all interior stuff. It wasn't like trying to bounce this thing or go on the edge, and you could talk about you heard the talk about in the broadcast, like changing directions is difficult. Like that would be tougher for Joe Mixon to do some of his impressive stuff in that type of matchup. Though the Texans are more equipped with the way that their defensive line can play and Joe Mixon than in previous years, it's still a rough situation if they have to go to Buffalo in a snowstorm.
No one wants to be in that, especially if you're not used to it. Like you like I see some people on the chat saying CJ played at Ohio State. Yeah, he's from California. He doesn't like that weather any more than anyone else.
Okay,
So,
I want you to power rank. Don't think about the team. Just think about the city and the stadium situation of the potential second round opponents. Because obviously the Texans will host the first.
Nothing to do with the team.
Nothing to do with the team. Just the potential for weather situation
And the atmosphere and all that.
and the atmosphere and all that.
So fans too.
Fans too.
Buffalo is the number one nightmare, even more so than Kansas City. And I know Kansas City is a nice place. Buffalo, snow game, snowballs, crazy ass, loud. That is the number one worst like atmospheric possibility for the Texans. Not even close.
Then number 2, I'm assuming, would be Kansas City. Remember what the Dolphins had to play in last year? When
Yeah, but
games
I don't know how much the Chiefs like it. To be honest with you, I don't know how much they're really. Oh yeah, you can't think about the team. Okay, can't think about the team, the atmosphere. Yeah, I would say Kansas City.
How close is Pittsburgh to Kansas City? Renegade, the towels. It could be cold there too.
Pittsburgh's up there. It's a tough atmosphere.
Would you put Pittsburgh ahead of Baltimore?
Yes,
I would.
Yes, much more rowdy, much more insane. Just seeing like the black and gold and stuff. It's kind of symbolizes something.
As soon as they're down in that game, they fire up that stupid song, and everybody's just like, "Rah!" All right, so Buffalo, KC, Pitt, Baltimore, the potential go-to spots. Because you don't have to go to the Chargers or you don't have to go to the Broncos.
Yeah,
The playoffs, they're coming to you.
And we're being hipsters on the chat. I see Dime saying Josh Allen's from Cali too. He lives in Buffalo, brother. Like he wakes up every morning and freezes his ass off. He also went to college in Wyoming. Like it's like this.
He's been in Buffalo for 7 years now.
Yeah, he's not commuting. He's not commuting from Houston. Like, but Josh Allen doesn't wake up like let's not. We don't gotta try too hard.
One of my favorite Tim Settle stories that he told in the locker room, just kind of hanging out, was when we were asked about the weather in Buffalo, and he's like, well, it's obviously cold. He's like, the snow is BS. And he's like, we had practice one day and there was a snowstorm, and people had to shovel out their driveways to
we in here talking about practice,
get to work. And I was like, man, so you had to go shovel your driveway? He's like, no, my neighbor did it. He knew I was a football player and I had to get to practice. Like, that's great. It's like, you imagine living next to Tim Settle, being like, oh, he's a Bills defensive player. I've got to make sure he gets to work. And then some guy goes and shovels his driveway and then shovels Tim Settle's driveway too.
In all seriousness, like if Buffalo has a situation where their stadium, not the surroundings, because you can't control roads and stuff, but if they have a situation where people are able to get to the stadium, but their stadium is not in the best position to be able to play immediately, they should have to forfeit. Like at this point, like, no, I'm serious, dude. You're not even like leaving the indoor option. That's insane.
Like a couple years ago when they had the blizzard.
It's insane, man. Like
was it 2 years ago, or was that last year?
Yeah, but I mean, like they like you have like the field is covered before the game. Like if you want to open it up and then get the fans rowdy and we'll take our shirt off and get pneumonia and stuff like that, that's fine. But to not cover, like be able to cover that thing, and it doesn't even cost like any extra money really. Like it's a little bit, but like a real small scale, like it's a joke. Like it's a bit and it's a joke at this point. No new stadium should be built without a retractable option. It's stupid. Like even for like concerts or anything like that, like you're having randos come shovel snow. That's pathetic. Oh, that's tradition. Nah, come on. Like let's move on. There's a lot of traditions. Like move on from that. It's terrible.
Remember when the Chargers Rams' new stadium had a weather delay, even though it has a covered top, because it like is open on the sides or whatever. There was like the potential that lightning could strike, so it was technically a lightning delay, even though they have a covered top.
I feel like they might also grow to like it. Like, you know how you're a lot of times like you just embrace what you have. I feel like Buffalo fans might really grow to like the
It could
the
just
weather.
put a top on it. It doesn't have to be fully surrounded. You want to be cold, be cold. Just keep the snow from affecting the way that the game is played.
Well, I mean,
Also, when
you can
Kansas City gets a new stadium, it's going to have an option to put a roof on it because that's what Mahomes is going to want.
well, you can open it, but just keep it closed during the monsoon to where the field is good. Nice. It's good to go. Do you think Buffalo? Do you think Buffalo's the best team right now?
No, I think the Lions are the best team right now.
No. Come on. AFC.
Oh, in the AFC?
AFC.
Yes,
Buffalo's the best team.
Buffalo is the best team right now in the AFC, yes.
Yeah, and they beat the Chiefs. By the way, they were very close to if the Chiefs had been able to lose, then who knows where that goes. That kicker's got the yips too. By the way, the refs signal false start and then let you recover a fumble is a little bit, that's pretty wild to me. That's the other thing that we got to change here. Like, I think the NFL's done a good job with like the assistants, like up top of the officiating. This shouldn't be a problem. Like, it's not. We know, typically sitting at home, we know what the deal is. Like this is being made way too difficult with certain calls and situations. Keep the refs. I'm not sitting here saying like replace them with AI or anything like that, but I'm sitting on my couch. Like, we know what happened in some of the most pivotal calls. Just don't make this too difficult.
Don't over ref it.
No, and in college does it too. But the thing that's crazy about college is like it takes too long. Like, they look at everything, but it takes too long.
Takes forever.
What are y'all looking at? And why would you want the same guy who was looking at it and screwed it up to look at it? He's naturally defensive.
Yeah, he's not going to be like, "Oh, I got this wrong."
Have you ever eaten like a crappy food and then someone's like defending the recipe? It's like they made that food. Like, they're going to defend the recipe. Like, well, I don't need this jackass. He's the one who screwed it up. I understand it. Don't need that.
College is different because you got 100-something games and officials all over the place. Like, the NFL has at any given moment at most 8 games going. They've got a central, location for some of their assistants, and then they've got assistants in the buildings as well. Like, it should be damn near perfect. It should be damn near perfect and universal across the board.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff that goes into it too.
By the way, just 3 penalties for the Texans yesterday.
And one of them was lining up offsides on offense.
3 penalties for 15 yards. That was it.
Yep.
People have been talking about the penalties and how disciplined the team is. And
boy,
one
Moose
of them
was really pissed about those offsetting penalties on the Azeez Al-Shaair thing.
Yeah, he was mad about everything.
But I mean,
when did he become such a grumpy bitch?
I don't know. I mean, that was like that was the skull crusher. Like, that was like Daryl Johnston was like a fullback with the neck roll, just going out there, just annihilating fools. That was Moose back in the day.
That's the thing is, like, the team he played on, the guys he played with, the era he played in. Like, did he just got softied by current NFL?
I think he was just trying to be a little bit too dramatic. I think he just kind of got lost in the mic.
He tried to have a soliloquy about respect for your other man. He acted like Azeez Al-Shaair made love to Lawrence's wife.
Did you think that the
you got to respect a man more than to not sleep with his wife? It's like he hit him on the football field. Moose, what are you talking about?
Did you think that they missed the call on the Tank Dell PI?
Yes.
You did?
Yes. I felt like it was contact live. And Tank's not getting the call once he looks at the official, but he kind of looked at the official and was like, really? We're not throwing a flag on that? Like, you just saw the guy arrive early. I do agree that underthrown passes should not be rewarded all the time, though. So while I believe it was pass interference, I also believe that they shouldn't reward underthrown passes with pass interferences. Because it's not like Tank was going to come back to the football.
Yeah, I was fine with the no call. I could see it either way, but I do think there's kind of a tendency to reward bad throws. And I mean, I think CJ, there was probably a little bit too much air on it. It was also a little bit too late. I thought Moose Johnston and them did a good job of breaking it down where, the progressions maybe should have been a little bit quicker. Not trying to sound like QB guru or anything, but it hit the guy in the back of the helmet. I had no problem with the no call, but I could get it both ways.
I thought about this, and I feel like you're going to be critical of my comment here because you were critical. I'm doing something that the Texans did a couple of weeks ago with Nico Collins. I know the throw didn't get to Tank Dell. Getting the ball where he got it in the situation was still an impressive throw. Like, there's a guy in his face, and he's getting ready to just launch that thing, and he launched it like 60 some odd yards in the air. Like, I'm sorry, it's not Madden, and every deep throw is perfect. Like, people were like, well, I can't believe CJ didn't make that throw. I can't. It's 65 yards down the field with a guy in his face.
Well, I mean, get it to him quicker. It's not 65.
Sure, but you're critical of a different point of the play.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it could have easily been a penalty, and it would have. I mean, the game would have looked a lot different.
I felt like they were a little early on Schultz on third down over the middle at one point too.
Oh, I thought it was second down because he was pissed. He was like,
or second down, yeah.
Yeah, it was
second down. Second down, then it was the sack on third.
Dalton's
down.
like,
oh, he gets so mad.
You know exactly how many bros were in that rant? Probably 2. Bro, he's grabbing me, bro. He's grabbing me, bro.
And it's the I'm not mad, I'm disappointed look after he doesn't get the call, where he just kind of stares at him, and then it's like Also, while we're talking about interacting with officials, I don't think I've seen anybody ever be nicer to officials than Nico Collins. He had like a catch like in front of one of the officials, and he was waiting for the official to like signal first down, and he's smiling. And the official signals first down, then Nico does the point. Yeah. And then he just kind of hands the ball to the official. He's like always smiling, looking at officials, flipping.
He's having fun, man. He's having fun out there.
He's got a great rapport with officials. And I feel like that's not a bad thing to have as a big-bodied wide receiver. One day, that great rapport, maybe it'll get a hanky out of the pocket for you.
Yep. There's underthrow arguments going on in the chat. The only reason it was an underthrow is because you didn't get him quicker. Like that's obviously it was a long throw, but you didn't throw it quicker. So that was why it's underthrown, because eventually the guy gets there. You made the throw more difficult than it would have been had you.
2023 CJ makes that throw.
Well, and I also think that there's also a certain element of if that's Nico Collins, I don't even think he looks anywhere else. I don't know that the trust is as much there with Tank. I don't know that it should be.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say why should it be?
Wouldn't be.
Yeah, it's not. No. 1 for 23 is just that's absurd from that to be the only contribution from Tank Dell. That's rough.
And I think it's only his third worst game of the year, if I'm not mistaken.
Not great.
Yeah, 1 catch for 23 yards is Tank Dell's third worst game of the year, statistically.
Not great.
Do you what do you think they do for this bye week? Like, do you think there's like a coming to Jesus meeting with Nick and DeMeco? Do you think they just try to get healthy and then figure stuff out? Like we know obviously the players are gonna rest, and there's gonna be a healthy amount of stepping away, but we know how DeMeco is and we know how Nick Caserio is. What are they going to do? Do you think that perhaps they take a hard look at what's going on with this offense, or
Oh, I would tell you that the players get away, but the coaching staff, get the grease board out, lock Bobby in a room, and check on him periodically. Be like, "Did you figure this out yet, Bobby?" Like they gotta continue to fine tune this offense. They got to continue to fine tune this offense, and I don't know if that's DeMeco Ryans checking in. I don't know if that's everybody getting together and going over it with a fine tooth comb, but they've got to continue to fine tune this offense. We saw some progress yesterday, and we saw some positive movement with how they operated with their offense, but there's still a long way to go. Like they've got to continue to fine tune this thing.
They've got to, but will they? Like, are they going to?
I can't imagine, like, Bobby Slowick has been disappointing as the offensive coordinator. Bobby Slowick's not dumb. He knows that this offense needs to be better in the 4 regular season games and the playoff game that they have guaranteed to them for him to keep his job. Like, he has to know that. So whatever he needs to do to make sure the offense is better, he's going to do it. Does he possess the ability to do it? I mean, you saw some positive signs yesterday. Probably not enough for people. A lot of it's been, where has this been? Is probably some of the questioning with some of the success that they did have on offense yesterday. But he knows that if this thing doesn't look better in the next 4 weeks that they play and the playoff game, that he doesn't have a job next year. So I would tell you that I believe, yes, he's going to continue to fine tune this thing.
I thought that was maybe the most encouraging thing that there was yesterday. Is I thought there was more of a willingness to throw early. I guess for like the long-term fixes, like if we're looking for like a long-term fix, I would say the willingness to throw early was there. That was good.
8 of the 34 passes were first down passes to Nico Collins. I said 9 initially because they had one wiped out via penalty, but that was clearly an emphasis to the way that they operated, was to get the ball into Nico Collins' hand on first down and give themselves a chance to not be behind the sticks. And a lot of them actually ended up going for first downs. So, not only did they not be behind they moved the chains. They kept things going, allowed CJ to get into a rhythm a couple times. Like that was probably one of the most encouraging. That's one of the most encouraging Monday morning pick through the offensive coordinator situations that we've seen all season long. Was you saw the running game to nowhere for so many times, especially on first down, and they decided to forego that for a large majority of their first down snaps. That's a good job by Bobby Slowick on the offense.
It's SNL, Landry Locker, Cody Stutes with you. Subscribe on all podcast platforms. Locker, Stutes, Texans, type it in. You're good to go. Subscribe to my channel, The Locker Room, as well as Cody's channel, and HOU Football for the written word. I want to ask you this, and I just want you to rank this 1 to 3. Texans are a relatively healthy team right now. Injuries happen everywhere. There's obviously big parts missing potentially. If I asked you to power rank the things that you think that this team could use the most down the stretch, whether it's someone who's not out for the season or whether it's someone that is, but one being I would add this guy the most, and then 2 and 3, what would your 1 through 3 list look like?
I mean, one, to me, after watching yesterday, they got to get Jalen Petrie back.
No, they can be out for the season. So you would put Petrie over Diggs?
Oh, okay. Well, then Diggs would be.
Yeah, no. Diggs and Brevin Jordan and Christian Harris and all these guys are in the mix. Like if you could magically like put these guys, like who do they miss the most? Like as far as injuries, and I'm sure that every team in the league could do this. So I'm not by any means saying that this is like some sort of like godly unhealthy team. But if you ranked 1 to 3,
Diggs.
Diggs is 1. I agree.
Diggs is 1 and 2.
Well,
they don't have anybody else that consistently gets open.
Yeah, it's Diggs. It's Diggs for sure. They need another wide receiver. There's a reason that they made that move in the first place when they had this group with Noah Brown. I agree with you. They miss Diggs. Like they miss Diggs. What would 2 be? Mine's going to surprise you.
What's your 2?
Brevin Jordan.
I mean,
it's another offense. I think an intermediate option for CJ Stroud, whether it's a dump off, he might even block better than Schultz. He adds like a whole new element. The defense is fine. I get the Petrie thing. Petrie's going to be number 3 on my list. I don't even know how Christian Harris fits into this thing, but it would my one would be Diggs, Brevin Jordan, and then Jalen Petrie.
It's good. It's a good list. Surprised you didn't say Kenyon Green.
That's DeMeco's list, number 1.
No, that's good. That's good. Is just having 2 more guys that could catch the football and get open, it would be enormous for this offense. So Diggs and Brevin Jordan is a good one. As far as actual realistic ones, Petrie's the tops though, right? Because Jimmy went out twice with injuries yesterday.
Yeah.
Eric Murray's on the field because Jimmy's at the nickel spot.
Yeah, Petrie's better than Christian Harris at this point, like for what he can bring. And there's also the snowball effect, like you mentioned. Like if we were just looking at that position and we didn't have to worry about, like, let's say you had a very capable safety back there and you told me, like, I think as far as being able to fill a role, you can make a case that Jimmy Ward being able to fill the role that Jalen Petrie does just on the surface, like just doing that, I think it might be one of the best potential, like, fill-ins for someone that's backing up. Like, for example, like if Joe Mixon, you ask someone to do, Joe Mixon can't do it. Nico Collins can't do it. You can go back and forth, but there's a snowball effect that is undeniable when you have Eric Murray on the field as a full-time safety and Jimmy Ward has to go do that. So I would definitely say Petrie because he's so important and there is that snowball effect to the whole defense. I don't know how Christian Harris fits in, to be honest with you.
I mean, they've been solid at linebacker most of the year, so I don't know that you're like dying to have him or like you have to have him or anything. I don't know if they have the guy. I don't know if there is a guy out there they can go get, or there's somebody on the practice squad that they've got to find a third corner. They played Okuda for 4 snaps. He got roasted on that first play, and then he was out. And they didn't play him again.
Yeah, he might be getting cut pretty soon.
They've got to find another corner.
Yeah, that's easier said than done.
I mean, you shouldn't be in a situation where you're missing Kadar Holman. But they missed Kadar Holman yesterday.
On the super chat, Real Thoughts says, Landry, I enjoyed Ruben on the show and surprisingly I enjoyed the PFF guy as well. I must Pandaline. I always enjoy your comments. Yeah, I love I must Pandaline too. I don't know who the PFF guy was.
What PFF guy? Hold on. Does he think Meltzer's a PFF guy?
It would make sense. That's not like the worst. That's not like the worst thoughts.
Yeah, that must be what it is. He must think that Meltzer's a PFF guy.
Yeah, he acts like one, that's for sure.
If they need a third corner, I mean, I can't imagine there's a lot of options from a free agency standpoint. I mean, what are they going to do? I mean, Miles Bryant had a nice play yesterday.
Yeah,
is he the third corner?
I think you got to let Miles play more. I think Miles is solid. He's professional. He's played a little bit. Get Miles Bryant ready. That's probably your option. Xavier
Howard sucks, guys. Like if he was good, he'd be on a team.
Yeah,
we got to stop doing the Xavier Howard stuff.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think that in this offseason, they're just gonna be focused on the offense in many ways as far as like the improvement. I think there's an overhaul of the O-line, but I think the offense, in a lot of ways, they're gonna need more guys. I would love to get one of these tight ends. I'm not trying to get in draft talk, but one of these guys from Michigan or Penn State.
We'd have been all over draft talk if they lost yesterday. They won, and Landry's fired up draft talk.
Hey, Michigan or Penn State, give me one of those tight ends. Either one. Take either one, please.
Just give me 2 running backs out of this running back class.
Yeah, give me 2 running backs, a tight end.
It's like you're ordering breakfast here. Yeah,
maybe
I'll take the 2 running backs. Well, 1 pass catcher, 1 a bruiser. Let me
Yep.
get a do it all tight end.
Yep.
And do you guys serve guard here?
Yep.
Okay, let me get a guard too, please.
Yep. Maybe a tackle. Maybe a tackle. Do y'all trade? Oh, I gotta go to the pawn shop. Okay. I need a wide receiver too. Badly.
Need a wide receiver
Badly.
you or need a wide receiver as well?
Both.
Both.
Please. Thank you. Need it.
You know
Very
what Parker Washington, that kid that was awesome for the Jaguars yesterday, their 4th, 5th wide receiver, 6th round pick in 2023. 6th round pick.
Yeah. What was the plan with Wayne yesterday?
I guess because Xavier Hutchinson couldn't go out there and
Oh, but what was the plan?
run around.
What were we doing here?
I mean, he absolutely whiffed on a block that got Joe Mixon tackled for a loss.
Yeah. What are we doing out there?
That might have been the wait. We can't get Johnny Johnson the third out there.
I'm saying, where's Johnny Johnson at, man? That's like a camp hero. Where's he at? Irv Smith got out there a little bit. You see them put him out wide.
Irv sealed a block there on the edge of one of the Mixon runs.
Yeah, I think Irv Smith might be active for the remainder of the year, man. I think he might have earned a little playing time.
So he's got 2 more promotions before they have to sign him to the roster.
Yeah, but they need him.
I mean, this eventually ends with Beck on the roster, right?
Yeah, I think that would probably be the plan to get him out there. I mean, he's not a great blocker, but I think he's a better blocker than Schultz and probably Stover. Right?
Stover tries hard at least.
What are you saying?
I can't always say that about the blocking on this team.
Yeah.
Stover had a really nice clear out on, I think it was the Mixon touchdown run. I think Stover cleared a nice path for him there to the left on that Mixon touchdown run.
Yeah.
I don't look that they've got some practice squad promotion stuff that they got to figure out, and then ultimately they'll need a couple of roster moves before this thing's all finished up.
So Nick Caserio speaks tomorrow. What do you want to know from old Nick?
Well, you handpicked this offensive line coming out of the 2023 NFL draft, and it's not been very good. What do you have to say for yourself? I'm obviously not going to ask it that way.
Is he going to say the offensive line's good?
I hope not. That he better not. That'd be a bad thing to say.
Well, I heard him earlier this year. He said, and this was, in fairness, this was before, probably a couple months ago. He said this was when Kenyon, I think, was still out there. He said that the disappointment in the offensive line is, I don't know if he said overdone or misleading, or I don't remember like his exact wording, but he said something along those lines. Not ideal.
Nope.
We'll hear from Nick. DeMeco today as well at 2:00. So we'll hear what DeMeco has to say too, which is ready for the bye week, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Good for him. Good for him.
I mean, they as anybody who's got a bye week this late, they've earned it. Okay. And the Texans even more have earned it. And they've had the unfair situation where they played the Hall of Fame game. So they've been going nonstop since the middle of July with no breaks.
Boy, my investment in offensive line and actual production is what I want to ask Nick too. He's surely not going to say that he thinks it's performed well. I think there's a possibility. I think it's on the board.
That would be factually incorrect if he said that.
Yeah, that would not be good. When we ask DeMeco or Nick a question, like typically it's not for any other reason other than based on our interaction with people, fans, the understanding that it is kind of a gateway. It's kind of like what people are talking about, giving you an opportunity to talk to like the most avid portion of your fan base. You know, it's balancing the modern day media with journalistic integrity and asking questions that people actually want to know, which should be the goal, while incorporating your own entertainment element to it. So hammer that one, Nick. Hammer that one, Nick, because a lot of people upset with the offensive line. So you gotta knock that one out of the park.
Well, if he says that they've done a good job on the offensive line, that's
not gonna go good for him. Not gonna go good for him.
That's a dribbler to the pitcher.
Yeah, not gonna go good for him.
And by tomorrow morning, the official total, fully updated stats of where they rank on everything from an offensive line standpoint will be there. So everybody can look at it and understand the amount of pressure that they allow, the sacks that they allow. Because it'd be real bad if he formed his mouth to say, well, it's not all of the offensive line that allows the sacks. Like, oh, okay, so now we're blaming CJ? Like, that'd not be good.
Yeah. It's tough. It's his creation. Appreciate everyone. Go ahead.
It's tough when you invest the tons of money that you have in Titus Howard and Laramie Tunsil, and you invest the draft capital in Kenyon Green and Juice Scruggs and the ton of money into Shaq Mason. They're not any good. Yeah, it's real tough.
Yeah, not great. All right, appreciate everyone for coming through. It's been Reaction Monday. On to the bye week. My channel tomorrow, Locker Room on YouTube. We're rotating. We got to get some technical stuff, some stuff going on, but we got you covered. And this is a package deal. Best Texans content you can get. So subscribe to the Locker Room, subscribe to Stutz's channel, subscribe to the podcast on all podcast platforms, and always remember, Reaction Monday, W's taste much better than L's, and no matter what, we're all in this together.
Eat good, sleep good, be good. We'll talk Texas again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.